I have my theories on that, and I do believe that all these bubbles are going to come to a head. What's going to be a trigger? Because you're looking for a catalyst or a trigger. I'll tell you what's going to be we have an SEC meeting, we have a CFTC hearing, and after those hearings comes June 28th, Basel III, where gold becomes a tier one asset for the banks. They've got to match 1-to-1. I mean, is this dreamland? It's dreamland for me. Hello, this is Basel, Switzerland. I need to look at your books. Wow, you need 1-to-1 gold. Go buy some gold, okay? Wait a second here. We got to go 1-to-1 gold. Well, there is no gold. The gold is gone. Well, let's get silver. Well, the Redditors ate all the silver. Well, what are we going to do? The one thing about silver and gold and this type of situation, which we've never had, this has historically never happened. So we're going to run into some dynamics of a bullish silver market that we've never seen before. Silver is like a top fuel alcohol blown dragster. And it's just sitting on the line there shaking and flames are coming out. And I can see the flames right now. I can hear the motors warming up. When June 28th comes along, silver is going to go boom, gone.
Welcome to another RTD interview. Today I'm excited to have first-time guest, Mr. John Perez. He's an entrepreneur investor, as well as a trader that specializes in silver investing. So John Perez, welcome to RTD interviews.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Watch your show on and off for the last couple of years and enjoy it. And glad you contacted me.
Well, John, I appreciate you taking time to join me today, and definitely looking forward to getting your thoughts on the economy, the precious metals sector, as well as where you think the future, what the future are for the financial markets. But before we dive into that, I'm curious to find out who John Perez is. If you don't mind, share with the audience a little bit about yourself and how you arrived at this point in your career.
Okay, well, pretty much my entire financial career has been all precious metals with primarily a focus on silver. I went long gold at $3.25 gold, $6 silver. I was a customer at Monex, ended up a silver trader at Monex and managed a multi-million-dollar silver portfolio there. Back when silver was at $9, $10, $11, and did very well. All my clients, of course, still in the money from way back, so proud to say that. And have been in this market, watched all the shenanigans, the silver suppression, the manipulation, JP Morgan, Bear Stearns, went through the crash, and of course made it through the last bear market. But I'm really excited about what's happening right now with the Redditors, the silver apes, the Wall Street silver crowd, and of course the dollar where it's at right now. They're going to be printing this dollar until the cows come home, and that's nothing but good news for silver, precious metals, palladium, platinum, and especially the silver stocks, with an emphasis, I say, on exploration stocks, on some fundamentals that are coming soon. They're going to really explode that sector up much higher.
All right, great. They're great. Thanks for sharing that. And so you kind of, hinted at something I want to touch on next. And so the show is called Rethinking the Dollar. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts on what the words Rethinking the Dollar means to John Perez.
Well, I love the title of your show is great because you get everyone needs to rethink the dollar, not just us guys that are in the industry, have been working it for years, knowing that a weaker dollar is great for precious metals, but getting the word out there for the average guy to look at the dollar and rethink where's it going here. And at this stage of the game with COVID and the stimulus and the nonstop printing here, all of us need to get together that are not in the industry and think a little quicker as to where we're going to be here really soon. Because when everybody suddenly rethinks the dollar and concludes that maybe we should do something else, we are going to see a move in precious metals like we've never seen before. Because it's only going to take 1 or 2% of the investment community to start to move in silver and gold and the precious metals stock sector here, that we're going to be spiking aggressively. And that's going to, some people are not going to have too much time to think. And the good news is that there's people like you out there with a show like this that help people rethink quickly, give them the resources, the time, the interviews with there's so many experts out there talking about this, that it's the rethinking the dollar today is a lot different than it was back in 2011 when we knew it was going down. But now we have the printers printing at a pace we've never seen before. And there's a lot more money coming down the road.
Right. great point there. So I want to definitely touch off on that point there. And so it's been a year now since the start of the global crises the world is facing, but yet well before this current health situation, there was a situation brewing under the scenes when it came to the repo market and things like that, which basically initiated the next or the newer rounds of quantitative easing. And so that plays into the whole destruction of the current monetary system itself, but we're not really told about that much. And so let's talk about this past year. You mentioned the amount of currency that's been created. I want to say maybe a third of the current monetary base here in the dollar in the U.S. has been created. How much more do you think is in the pike for this year based upon the current events we're experiencing, and how high can the Federal Reserve's balance sheet go in the future based on the circumstances we're up against?
Well, I don't think there's a limit as to what Biden can print. I don't see a limit on that because there are so many other factors that can come into play. As if we talk about the economic reasons, they're going to hand us numbers, but there's still geopolitical events that can happen worldwide that can actually change the velocity of that money being printed. And that's something that I always consider because geopolitics are always a big part of my trading view and how I see the world, not just in economics and precious metals, but also the geopolitical impacts of events that are out there that can directly affect all resources. Or even for that matter, an Elon Musk tweet can change everything that quickly. But where we can go, I'm not sure that Biden knows. I'm not sure that anybody really knows. And on the other hand, as the dollar's burning down, what are we really looking at? Are we looking at a meter that says these guys are going to stop when? I don't think they're going to stop. They really can't stop, and there's no reason for them to stop and pull back because you've got millions of people out of jobs, millions of small businesses suffering, and pulling back right now or even increasing the interest rates, which is out of the question, is just simply not going to work. And that being said, it's almost as if rethinking the dollar, we're seeing something what of a heart attack in a body that's going to get a transplant here pretty soon. It's not going to die, but the heart is definitely contracting to the point to where there needs to be a heart transplant. And in that transition point, when this economy starts to flatline, we're going to start to see the other side here in gold and silver respond to this. And I think that's going to be very quick. In fact, just looking at today, silver up 72 cents, gold up high. We're going right through resistance right now. And I mean, at this stage of the game, in my opinion, today's Monday, May 16th, and we're on a roll. We're moving up. So where they're going to go, it's hard to say. But what I do know is this. Silver is at 50%, 45% of what 1980 highs were for silver. The real question is, how much money have we printed since 1980 when silver hit a high of $50 per ounce? There's a big number that's not talked about too much, not to mention the other ratios, the S&P 500 to silver ratio, oil to silver ratio. A lot of these different factors are coming into play. Back on the dollar, I think that your listeners should really take a look and ask yourself the question, what's going to put the brakes on Biden printing the dollar and diluting it and losing our buying power? I don't see anything out there. I think the best thing to do right now is to protect yourself, be the bank, be the vault, and bring home your metal. Have control of your silver, have control of your future, and empower yourself. And because we really can't reach out and say, hey, let's turn off the printer. Do you realize what you're doing? That's not going to happen. The real action that we can take, as a listener or just anyone out in the field, is to purchase and get a hold of precious metals physicals, and then actually take a position also in the precious metal stock sector here. We're at a point to where the average person has to take an offensive, defensive position as to what they're doing up there at the Federal Reserve.
All right, good point there. And then one thing I want to comment on was, you mentioned that we're halfway through the actual price of 1980 as well as 2011, not necessarily adjusted for inflation. So given the fact that, when you adjust it for inflation, it's a lot higher in nominal terms. And so touch on inflation. It's hit the mainstream news lately that inflation prices are picking up. And so inflation has always been around. It's just more so the consumer goods, raw materials and whatnot is actually seeing an increase in nominal price there. So are we fighting inflation, or is the Fed fighting deflation, wanting more inflation because they can't seem to find their mandated target of 2% or running a little bit over that? Where are we at in your opinion?
Well, you touch on a good point. I've never looked at it that way, but the first thing that comes to my mind is a war. It's very difficult to fight a two-front war, deflation and inflation, and that's where they're fighting. It's a two-front war. On one hand, they're reporting in the news that we have very little inflation. On the other hand, they're printing money up here, and there's all these different factors in different markets that where we're seeing inflation as well as deflation. But there's going to come up an inflection point where both these are going to make their extreme moves here. So it's really, from the standpoint of where the Fed's at right now, a lot of times I'll see all the noise on the news. The Fed is doing this. The Fed is doing this. Well, they've been doing this for forever, but it's just only now that all of a sudden, wow, they're really printing here. We're seeing trillions, and every 3-6 months, trillions, 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 and people are still sitting on the fence saying, well, there's a little bit of inflation, there's a little bit here. I like to go to shadow stats and get the real numbers here. They report their numbers there on CNBC and the Business News and Bloomberg, but go to shadow stats. You're like, wait a second, there's a set of numbers here and a set of numbers. Which one is right? Well, I like the shadow stats numbers here, and the Fed is cut into a corner. They have two fronts to fight. They're not going to win. And who's going to win at the end of the day? It's going to be precious metals. And that's the only way to look at it. I mean, that's really what other options are out there besides, you can turn on YouTube all day long and there's 1,000 people saying that the Fed is cornered in inflation. But at the end of the day, how do we resolve this? How do you defend yourself, take yourself to the next position to defend against what they're doing here? But the Fed is absolutely cornered, though, between inflation, deflation, public relations, and then behind the curtains, PR, investor relations there. And they simply have no way out. And from another perspective here on what I see, there's another system coming behind this. And I kind of lean on the side of the fact that the Fed has already prepared a gold, silver backed Fed crypto coin coming behind all this, which is a whole nother story there. But I am actually preparing for that. And
okay, so I want to touch on that then. So yes, I was going to ask you because as you're explaining that there's not many places to run to, I'm thinking in my mind, there's a few people here that saying he didn't say nothing about Bitcoin. He's not saying about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. And so we can just jump on that right now. As far as the outlet out of a dying system, of course, gold and silver has been, historically proven to preserve purchasing power throughout time. And so due to the manipulation and whatnot with the futures and all that other stuff, I want to get your thoughts on that as well. The price hasn't really seen that crypto style, race to the moon,
right,
the way that Bitcoin and others coins have. So is that a viable option in your opinion for people? Is that something to speculate with, or is it
yes?
Where do you stand on that?
Absolutely. I will say this right now. I'll go on the record. In 2021, in the third and fourth quarter in 2022, silver stocks, and more importantly, exploration stocks will be the Bitcoin. That's where we're going to see the parabolic rises. We are going to see 5,000, 10,000, 20, 25, 30,000% gains in the right exploration stocks, simply because the production is down, printing of money is up. Crypto right now, crypto is on the ropes right now, and it didn't take too much for just one guy with a Twitter handle to just really kind of rock that boat over there. And at the end of the day, once again, the volatility in the markets as well as crypto are showing once again that precious metals are the place to go, because with all the volatility in the markets and this extreme volatility in crypto being pulled back right now, what's holding? Silver and gold are holding. And that's where that's going to stay, because silver and gold historically for thousands of years have always been the standard of measure for all currencies and all countries here. So back on the cryptocurrency with this volatility, the current volatility in crypto, and if we see a black swan event with Bitcoin, once again, it's going to change the entire game and the psychology of the markets, especially the millennials. And I would encourage millennials to expand and stay diversified. And besides, if you're just in crypto, you should diversify. You just simply should. it's just, you're just safer. You don't want to go paddling in a boat with no life jacket. Put on the gold and silver life jacket and get out there and paddle. Hey, if you can trade it and make a profit, that's on you. But at the same time, with the current volatility in Bitcoin and all the crypto, what do? We look at the markets. We know the stocks are overvalued. I'm not interested in buying Apple, not at all. I'm not interested in buying a $50,000 crypto coin that is on an unregulated market. So where does that leave me once again? Where I've always been, and that my entire career has been precious metals. Now, people always say, yeah, but John, silver's been a horrible investment, gold's been a bad investment. Well, there's a lot of data out there, and I'll tell you, Chris Marcus on Arcadia Economics has really covered this well. The suppression and gold suppression game at the CFTC and the COMEX is coming to an end. And when that ends, combined with the volatility in the markets of crypto and the stock markets, we're going to see a move in silver and gold that's just going to blow everybody away. So once again, silver stocks and exploration stocks are going to be the new crypto later this year and 2022. We're going to see those parabolic moves here. And I think when that happens, we're going to see a lot of crypto refugees moving into that area there.
So I want to also touch on your thoughts about, you said a gold-backed Fed coin type. What's that about?
Pandora's box. The Fed is what we're seeing right now is really the end of the creature that was born at Jekyll Island, and there's this is a rabbit hole of sorts. We're not going to. Everyone's looking for an end to the Fed, a press release, or some magic move where we're going to see, oh, we got this new Fed coin, and we don't see that yet. There's a lot of information that's pointing in that direction. And in my opinion, I believe that whole system is ready to go right now. And it's only going to take a catalyst. I don't think it's going to be, breaking news. There's going to be a change here or this. I think it's going to be an event, some sort of large scale event where everybody's watching and there's a change that's happening. And all of us that are in the economic and financial sector, we see it. We already see that the writing's on the wall. It's like, how many times can the Fed have a heart attack and print 3 trillion and get away with it? I mean, this is like those little EGCR valves that you put on people's chests having a heart attack. Okay, let's jack this guy up again here. Let's shock this. I mean, that's literally the Federal Reserve System here. And when they run out of money, they just pull out the EKG machine and jack it up and stimulate. And that's we have a heart attack. That's going to change. And in my opinion, I don't believe the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Treasury, and the U.S. government has stood by and said, "Hey, we know how long are we going to keep, jacking this heart up until we have a heart attack and just die." I believe that the system's already ready to go, and what we see going on at the SEC with the GameStop shorts, what we see at the CFTC with some hearings coming up, and the changes in how the exposure is to the banks that are shorting the silver stocks. What we see in crypto, the volatility here, there's a really big picture people need to look at from 40,000 feet and take a look and say, why are all these things coming to a head at the same time, with stocks being overpriced, with crypto volatility, CFT exposure, shorts on the suppression side of things, GME shorts and AMC shorts on the equities markets, changes in the SEC, changes in the DTCC. And that's a handful I just threw out there. But if you take a 40,000 foot view, look at this, which is how I am looking at things, it's obvious that we're heading into a rapid change here where all these things are going to come together. We don't know. I mean, the numbers on the short section on this for GME and AMC are so colossal on that it can affect the banking sector into the commodity section for the Chicago Board of Exchange, the CFTC. We're going to see a lot of margin calls. And just like 2008, when Kramer had his meltdown and everything went basically just started dominoing, we're going to see the same thing, but we're going to see it on a global scale. And I don't believe that this change is going to be just in the United States. I think it's going to be global. Judging by one clue I can say on the crypto side is I can see that central bankers and regulators, they're closing in. Even this Colonial Pipeline hack, which was hit with ransomware, was a major event. no one has mentioned anything about regulating cryptos, but I believe that's going to be used as an event to regulate crypto. Well, if you take a look, I noticed there's been a lot of other stories too of other companies being hacked by crypto. And this is not a slam on crypto. I'm a big believer. I'm an investor in a blockchain company that has to do with crypto and crypto security and encryption. So I'm not anti-crypto. A lot of times people say, well, you're anti this. And I said, no, Bitcoin, I'll stand with Elon on this one here. It's just inefficient and it's old and we know it. But there's going to be some changes coming here. And you look at what's happening with different companies being hit by ransomware. It wasn't just Colonial. Now there's some other companies going on. I will not be surprised if that's taken and turned into an event, which it turns into a regulatory issue that becomes another headline that really, once again, will only support the argument and the case for gold and silver.
Interesting. Now it's a lot of nuggets in there, and so I want to touch on. You said an event, and so of course we have the Harry Dents out there. We have who else? Peter Schiff's out there saying that something's coming. It's going to be something that will be a shock to the markets like never seen before. I'm not sure if it's going to be a debt bubble explosion. And as even Druckenmiller today talking about the inflated asset bubble, housing, stocks, everything you mentioned as well. Will it be the busting or the bursting of one of those bubbles that leads to an event, or are you talking about a geopolitical event, China or Russia, Ukraine? I mean, is there something like that or what?
I see all of the above. All of the above. I mean, I'm looking at a month ago. I said, well, here's something boiling over here. It's like, well, look, this is boiling over. This crypto bubble is boiling, and then Elon comes in and just sticks a needle in the bubble. And then you've got everyone, basically you got crypto going on here. You've got the SEC and dealing with the AMC and GameStop shorts. That is a big number there, is how underwater these companies are. The numbers are staggering. And now we've got literally the silver suppression people, the people in the silver markets, especially around the Redders. You got the silver supply on above ground is gone. Spot silver is up 64 cents. They were at 28, 2024. Well, go to buy a coin. You're going to pay $35, $36, $37. Well, there's no supply, but the price is down. And people come to me and say, well, John, if there's no silver, why is the price down? I said, well, it's welcome to suppression. It was a headline on Bloomberg that JP Morgan was running a criminal enterprise. RICO, wait a second, John. RICO, criminal enterprise and silver? Yes, it's out there. These are all real bubbles that are popping, but now they're getting down to the point to where the regulators are being questioned as to how they have managed that bubble. How did these guys get so short on companies this deep? How did silver go this long? And nobody said a thing. And while all these things were happening, crypto arose, anonymous and unregulated, and went to the moon. So I have my conspiracy theories on that. I don't want to discuss now because I don't want you to get your channel demonetized, but I have my theories on that. And I do believe that all these bubbles are going to come to a head. What's going to be a trigger? Because you're looking for a catalyst or a trigger. I'll tell you what's going to be we have an SEC meeting. We have a CFTC hearing. And after those hearings comes June 28th, Basel III, where gold becomes a tier 1 asset for the banks. They've got to match 1-to-1. I mean, is this dreamland? It's dreamland for me. Hello, this is Basel, Switzerland. I need to look at your books. Wow, you need 1-to-1 gold. Go buy some gold, okay? Goodbye. Wait, it's like, wait a second here. We got to go 1-to-1 gold. Well, there is no gold. The gold is gone. Well, let's get silver. Well, the Redditors ate all the silver. Well, what are we going to do? We're just going to bid this stuff up. They got to start buying mining stocks. They're going to have to go back in the ground. At the end of the day, aside from all this, how do we profit from this? Because, we can talk all day and night, but how does the average guy profit from this? He's got to have his silver, number one, have your physical, but be in the stock game. 'Cause at the end of the day, when Basel III kicks in on June 28th, that's basically a margin call that the banks are getting, saying, buy gold. These are the new rules, or you're out of business, or I'm not sure what the ramifications are on the back end if they don't buy gold. But June 28th, to me personally, my opinion is that's going to reverberate, and that's going to be a news event. It's going to be a press release event. All the banks are going to have to disclose this. It's going to be in the media. It's going to be on CNBC, Bloomberg. And the average person who's not sitting here watching the day-to-day is going to see this saying, look, the bank is buying gold. And that guy, John Perez, has been talking about silver and gold nonstop like a madman. And all of a sudden the banks are buying it. Then my phone's going to ring. So, John, are you watching? Of course I am. I'm in. I'm ready to go, my friend. I'm waiting for that June 28th. We got what? 3 weeks? 4 weeks? You got to be in the game now with silver and silver stocks. You got to be in now. The one thing about silver and gold and this type of situation, which we've never had, this has historically never happened. So we're going to run into some dynamics of a bullish silver market that we've never seen before. But based on the numbers and rethinking the printing of the speed of this dollar here, we're going to see upward thrusts in gold, silver, and mining stocks that we've never seen before. So I'm telling people right now, look, you got to be in now, my friend. You can't wait. You know, you go to buy stocks. I use this analogy all the time. You go to buy stock, you go to buy a large cap mining stock, or you go to buy gold. You're going to buy it, and you're going to make some money. Maybe you won't. Maybe it'll go down, so sideways. It's going to go up. In the silver game, it's like running to, you buy stocks. It's like running to the bus stop saying, let me get on the bus. You can run on and wave him down. He stops for you. That ain't the situation in silver. Silver is like a top fuel alcohol blown dragster. And it's just sitting on the line there shaking, and flames are coming out. And I can see the flames right now. I can hear the motors warming up. When June 28th comes along, that silver is going to go boom, gone. And like it always does, my phone rings. Hey, John, what do you think about silver? I'm like, what do you mean? What do I think about it? There it goes. This time, though, it's almost like I could not have asked for a better situation. Hello, Switzerland. Will you quit dicking around and let's get some silver and gold on the books here? Why? Because I'd like to make some money after 10, 11 years of suppression by JP Morgan. I'm done with this stuff. Okay, we're listening, Perez. June 28th. Good man. Click. We're going up. So that's, to me personally, in my opinion, from a banking perspective, June 28th is a much bigger event than has been it's not elevated in the news for a good reason. And here, 10 years of manipulation, everyone's in crypto. And now you got Elon throwing darts at the balloons over there. And I'm watching him. Look, okay, Elon, knock yourself out. And at the same time, Basel III. What are we at? It's June 28th. What are we at? May 16th. We've got, 30-something days here. 17th. Yeah, 17th. So now it's like, you got to load up now. You got to be in the game here because two things. Powell's going to print, and the bank's going to say, look, we got to get gold. Well, where are we going to get the money for gold? Let's call Powell. Let's borrow money and buy gold.
Yeah. Now let me get your thoughts. So Basel III, June 28th is going to be a turning point for the monetary system. Sounds like you've laid out a good case for that. Now, how does that benefit, or how will that help the governments and the central banking monopoly on the currency game? Like, the CBDC, I'm assuming is going to be a part of that. But yet, will we, the people, be able to really enjoy the fruits of the manipulation and suppression as wonderfully as you're describing, given the fact that the world definitely is going to be changing as well? Supply chain breakdown, goods and services, inflation, hyperinflation. I mean, so they're gonna have to reprice gold, I assume, to give account for all this excess of currency creation. What type of world are we living in then?
Well, that question that goes into the talk of a jubilee, Nasara, Jasara, all this, which is a whole nother topic of conversation. There are some events coming, and personally, the government knows that the ship is tilting over. We're listing right now, and the weight of the dollar is falling to one side of the ship. All this printing, sooner or later, that ship's going to turn over. If we don't have a system ready to go when this happens, and I don't know exactly when this is going to happen, then we're all in big trouble. I mean, it's going to be Mad Max and Thunderdome. But I believe that system is in place and already prepared, ready to go. What do we, what should we look for something? To me, I think, we're going to see all these regulatory agencies and come after crypto. They're going to come after this. They're going to come after that. I think these are the clues that are leading up to it. How I see it, that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that one, but I have some theories and that I ponder, and it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be rough. At the same time, I think probably the most important thing, for the average person, because I get this question asked all the time. I just tell people, look, it's time to think. Okay, economically, let's go in the bunkers. Like, take some silver and gold and bullets with you. Silver, gold, and bullets. I mean, that's as raw as that sounds, and as I don't like to be the doomer. I was the doomer and boomer for gloomer for 10 years, and I just decided to switch to say, oh, look, I'm looking at the other side of what you're this topic right here. I mean, nobody likes to live without hope. Nobody likes to live without vision. But from what I see right now, the clues I'm seeing here, they're prepared for this. Now how do you prepare for this? Because I mean, look, as a skeptic, the first thing you're going to say is, well, they're going to screw it up. The government's going to do this. Like, well, you know what? Nobody's ever done this before. So, I've really laid back on my criticism because this is really a human event that affects the world. But back to your original question about how do the central banks around the world, how are they going to deal with it? Well, if you look at when they really started accumulating gold, Russia and Turkey, they started accumulating gold 10, 12 years ago. I've been posting this stuff year after year. Their accumulation, somewhere down the road, years ago, these guys knew it's like, hey, we're going to have this problem here. The US dollar is going to expire on this date. This is going to change. Geopolitics. Everybody started quietly accumulating gold. And while they were buying all this gold, really, gold rolled up. When we're sitting at 2000, I remember when I worked at Monex being on the phone saying gold is going to $750 an ounce, and people would hang up on me. Are you crazy? It'll be we'll be in Armageddon at $850 an ounce. Click. Like, okay, now here we are at $2,000 an ounce. Remember me? It's like, yeah, you were right. Even though gold has moved this much, we haven't hit Armageddon, but the printers have. So, I believe that the central banks have accumulated a lot of gold, and they continue to. And really the suppression game, is it to hurt investors? I don't think so. I think it's really to manage the accumulation stresses that come with central banks accumulating for so long. We really can't have banks accumulating gold over 10 years and shooting gold to $10,000 an ounce while the average guy's in the street going, what's going on here? So there has to be some element there that checks this. But I do believe that there's going to be about 20 or 30 countries, if not more, that are already coordinating with the powers inside the Federal Reserve. I don't believe the Federal Reserve is going to exist the way it is right now. I think we're very much near, after June 28th, we're going to start to see the shifting in how the Federal Reserve operates and what their long-term plans are. And the clue there was the U.S. Secret Service being transferred and moved under the authority of the U.S. Treasury. That was a big move. A lot of people didn't see that one, but that has, the U.S. Secret Service was created in the beginning I believe under the Lincoln administration to monitor counterfeiting. So central banks worldwide, I believe there's coordination going on here, simply because the amount of gold accumulated over the last 10 years was absolutely coordinated. It was methodical. Gold went up methodically, and silver was left behind, and has been the redheaded stepchild for 10 years. Until now, it's going to move.
Well, John Perez, it has been great having you on RTD Interviews. You dropped a wealth of knowledge, and I'm definitely looking forward to continue to connect with you and stay attuned to what's going on, and definitely have you on in the future to get an inside look at some of the things you think will be beneficial as far as some of those mining sectors you're referring to. So for those that might be interested in trying to connect with you or find out more about how to find out what you do, is there any link, any place you want to point them back to?
I spend a lot of my time on the Reddit boards, and I have a Facebook page. It's Comstock Royalty PR, and I'll drop you some links over there. I had a very, very large following on LinkedIn. I had 25 50,000 followers there, getting about 10, 15,000 views per day. But I got canceled on LinkedIn.
Mm.
And it was for this. It was literally, it had to do with talking about silver being suppressed. That's apparently, that is a taboo topic. At least it was back then.
Mhm.
Those headlines on J.P. Morgan were not pleasing for
Not too
their
good for
company.
you. Well, I'll link some information down beneath this video here. But once again, John, thank you for joining us here on RTD Interviews. Looking forward to connecting with you, sooner than later to find out what's going on, especially around our June 28th timeframe. I would love to get your thoughts then. So thanks for
Great.
joining us on RTD Interviews.
Okay, and listen, I appreciate the call and really enjoy your show. Looking forward to doing some more work with you.